we're going to talk about areas of parallelograms and areas of triangles in this video. I really wanted you to have enough room to show some work on here, so I couldn't unfortunately get them all to fit in the same little foldable. So there's going to be 2 papers here, and they're just going to fold into half sheets like so. And we're going to start with parallelograms, and then we'll do triangles. So fold them in half, and let's start with talking about parallelograms. So to begin with, we need to talk about the vocabulary for parallelograms. So we're going to look over here. We've got the base of a parallelogram. Oh, that's a little blurry. There we go, sorry. So we've got the base of a parallelogram, and we've got the height of a parallelogram. And basically, the base is really just either the bottom or the top, okay? Any side could be the base. So if I turned it this way, this could be the base here that I didn't highlight pink. It could be the base also, but particularly when we're talking about finding area, the base is always perpendicular to the height. So we know the height is located inside the triangle. So here we have the height of the parallelogram, and it's going to be perpendicular to the base. So we always can identify our base as the thing that's perpendicular to the height. And that's really important, okay? So the base is perpendicular to the height. And this is true for every shape that you see. The base is always going to be perpendicular to the height. If we're talking three-dimensional, the base is perpendicular to the height of the figure. If we're talking about a triangle, the base is perpendicular to the height. Okay? All right. So, area of a parallelogram. We already know the area of a rectangle is just, if we had a regular old rectangle, you would just multiply the length times the width, right? Well, in a rectangle, if we went back and relabeled these so that they matched our vocabulary, this is perpendicular, so this is the height and this is the base, correct? Because the base is always perpendicular to the height. So we have a height and a base. So if you look here, what they're showing is I could take this little bitty piece of triangle, if I cut this off right here, and I could move it to the other side of the parallelogram over here, and then now my shape looks like a rectangle. And so I would just do base times height. So they're saying that the area of a parallelogram, the formula for it is just do your base times your height. Okay, so there are a few examples down here. To find the area of the parallelogram, we're going to have to identify our base and our height. So our base is 15, and our height is 6, because the base is here, and it's perpendicular to the height of the parallelogram. So here's my formula. Area equals base times height. So area equals 15 times 6. And 15 times 6 is 90. Now when we talk about area, we talk about square units. So we're going to put units with a little 2. That means square units. So that is the area. Okay. In example 2 here, we've got a base and a height that we need to find. And we've also got the area. Area equals base times height. So, what is the base on this one? Well, if you look, we've got obviously a height right here, and I know it's the height because it's perpendicular. See this little perpendicular sign right there? So the dotted line, perpendicular, that's going to be the height. So that's 4. Now it's perpendicular to this line right here. Well, that's the same as this line right here. So the base is 15. So you have to be very careful about the orientation or direction that the figure is sitting. So area equals base times height. So area equals 15 times 4. So this one's area is 60. And don't forget that means it's units squared. Okay? Alright, example 3 says find the area of a parallelogram with a base of 10 and a height of 12 meters. So we just follow our formula. Area equals base times height. area equals 10 times 12. 10 times 12 is 120 meters squared, because we're talking about area. We need to talk about meters squared. Alright, example 4. It says, if the area of a parallelogram is 56 units squared and the base is 4 units, what is the height? So a lot of these problems are asking us to go backwards. That's why it's really important that the first thing you write down is the formula. Then you're going to plug in what you know. I know 56 units squared is the area, so that means I'm going to put 56 instead of A. I also know that the base is 4, so I'm going to put 4 instead of B, and I'm looking for the height. It says, what is the height? Okay, so now to figure out the height, all I'm going to do is divide. So you divide by 4 on both sides. 56 divided by 4 is going to be, I don't remember, hold on, 14. And it's units squared, so if it's a height, we're going to say it's just 14 units. Okay? So length is just in units, and then area is in units squared. Okay. So there's a couple more examples on the inside that are a little more complex. On example number 4, they're asking us to find the perimeter and the area of parallelogram RSTU. So if I look at it, I've got a base that I'm looking for, a height that I'm looking for, and my formula, area equals base times height. First off, I'm going to try to find the height. Well, the height is right here, and I know that because of the right angle, okay? It doesn't tell me how much the height is, but I can tell just by knowing where the height is that the base is this one down here. This 12 inches represents this small length on this triangle right there. So the whole length from U all the way to T is the same as R all the way to S, so the base is 32. So now I need to figure out the height. Well, if the whole length is 32, then to figure out the height, we're going to have to, actually we don't even need to know this little piece, I'm sorry, but it is, the whole length is 32. ST is also 20, okay? Now as you can see, there's a triangle right here, and we need to figure out the height. So I'm going to draw that triangle in. I know this is 12 and this is 20, and it's a right triangle, so I can do the Pythagorean theorem. 12 squared plus h squared is equal to 20 squared. These are my legs, and this is my hypotenuse. 12 squared is 144, h squared, 20 squared is 400. Subtract 144 from both sides. Gets you 256. So h squared is 256, and when I take the square root of 256, I get 16. So h is 16. So the area is base times height. Whoops, I already wrote that. What's the base? The base is 32, and the height is 16. So area equals 32 times 16, 512 units squared. Oh, it said it was inches. So we can, instead of putting units, we can put inches. Okay? It also says to find the perimeter. Well, perimeter means to just add all the sides. So we've got 20 plus 32 plus 20 plus 32. So the perimeter is 20 plus 32 plus 20 plus 32, or 104 inches. Now perimeter is not talking about area, so we aren't talking about square units, we're just talking about regular units, inches. Example 5. The height of a parallelogram is 6 times its base. So that automatically tells me, hey, I should probably draw a picture. And it says the height is 6 times its base. So if this is the base, then the height is 6 times B. So the area is 96 square feet. So we know base is B, height is 6B, and area equals base times height. And now we're going to plug in what we know. Area is 96 square feet, so I'm going to put that there. Then base times 6 bases. B times 6b. 96 equals 6. B times b is b squared. Now to solve this, we're going to divide by 6 on both sides. 96 divided by 6 is 16 equals b squared. And so the 6's cancel out. And that leaves me with b is the square root of 16, so b equals 4 feet. So the base is 4 feet, and the height is 6 times the base. So the height is 6 times 4, or 24 feet. You can always check your work. Go 4 times 24 and see if that gets you 96. It does. All right. The last two problems are also about right triangles. So if we look here, we say find the area PQRS. We've got a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Here is my triangle. That's 45. That's 45. Okay? And we're looking for the height. This part right here is 9. Remember, my rule for 45, 45, 90 is that this is going to be equal to the height times the square root of 2. That was my rule. Whatever this is times the square root of 2 got me 9. So if I divide by the square root of 2 on both sides, that's h equals 9 over square root of 2. Okay? So b equals h equals area equals base times height. Alright, so what's b? Or what's h? Well, what's b to begin with? Well, this one is my height because it's the right angle. So then that means it's touching my base. So then the 12 must be my base. So 12 is my base. And then 9 divided by square root of 2. 9 divided by square root of 2 is 6.36. So we'll just say 6.34. Or sorry, 6.4. And then you just multiply. So the area is 76.8 units squared. Okay? Because that's 9 right there. Alright, example 7 is actually a rhombus. If you can see, it's 24, 24, 24, and 24. So we've got base, we've got height, and area equals base times height. Well, my base is obviously 24. Now I got to figure out what my height is. Well, here is my triangle. If that's 60, then the opposite angle is also 60. Opposite angles are congruent, okay? So if that's 60, then that's 30. This side is 24 because it's the hypotenuse of the triangle. And then remember what my rule is for this one. The short side is going to be half of the 24, so it's going to be 12. Might have to draw my 30, 60, 90 triangle. 30, 60, 90. So this is hypotenuse, this is half of the hypotenuse, and then this is the short side times 2. Well, let's just rename this. It'll probably be easier. It's too big. Okay. This is the short side. This is the short side times 2. And this, or sorry, times square root of 3. And this is the short side times 2. Okay? So, divide by 2 to get to the short side. And then this times the square root of 3 to get to the long side. So the hypotenuse is 12 times the square root of, sorry, the hypotenuse. The height is, this part here is 12 times the square root of 3, which is about 20.8. So area equals 24 times 20.8, and that's 499.2. Inches squared because we're talking about area. Okay. Alright, so that is area of parallelograms. luckily, area of triangles will go a little bit faster. It's not quite as hard, mainly because it's just one formula. So triangles also have a base and a height. You can identify their height the same way as you identified your height in anything else, that the height is perpendicular to the base. So find the right angle, and that's your base, and those two are the base and the height of the triangle. Okay? The formula is 1/2 base times height, or you can multiply the base and height by each other and then divide by 2. I prefer this second formula because I like it better. So here, base equals height equals, and then area equals base times height divided by 2. So the base on this one, here's the right angle, so the base is going to be this 14 right here. The height is 10. So area equals 14 times 10 divided by 2. So just 14 times 10 divided by 2, and that is 70. Remember, we're talking about area, so you should be saying meters squared. Okay, example 2, base equals height equals area equals base times height divided by 2. And I'm going to have to do this formula somewhere else, but for now, the base is this whole length here, so that's 10, and then the height is also 10, because 8 plus 2 equals 10, okay, because that's the whole length. So then, I'm going to do it above here. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Area equals 10 times 10 divided by 2, which is 50 units squared. Okay. Alright, it says find the area of a triangle with a base of 16 and a height of 20. Write the formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Area equals 16 times 20 divided by 2. 16 times 20 is 320, and then divide that by 2, that's 160. So this is 160 units squared, because we're talking about area. Example 4, find the height of a triangle. So this one's a bit different. We're not finding area this time, we're finding height, so we have to work backwards. Write the formula. Area equals base times height divided by 2. Substitute what you know. Base is 12, so this is 12 times height divided by 2. Area is 42. And remember what we've talked about all year long. How do we get rid of this number in the denominator? We multiply everything by 2. Okay? So when I multiply it by 2, it cancels out. I'm going to do 42 times 2, and that gets me 84 equals 12 times the height. And 84 divided by 12. So the height equals 7. And this is just units, not square units, because it's a length. Okay. Alrighty. Example 4. Find the area and the perimeter. Okay, so start with base and height. And area equals base times height divided by 2. So the base is not this little 8 feet right here, it's just the solid line. So it's 22. The height is perpendicular to the 22, so it's going to be the 16. They draw these little dots out here to show you that it's perpendicular. So now we just say area equals 22 times 16 divided by 2. 22 times 16 is 352, divided by 2 is 176. And it's area, so we say feet squared. Now to find the perimeter, we have to figure out the length of this yellow side right here. That's a right triangle, so we say 16 squared plus 8 squared equals, let's call this x, so x squared. I just did 16 and 8 on my calculator, so 320. Now I'm going to take the square root. That's about 17.9. So the perimeter is 17.9 plus 22 plus 34. Which is 73.9 And remember, we're talking about feet, so they're not going to be squared because it's perimeter around the triangle. Okay. All right, hold on for 2 more. We're almost done. It says the height of a triangle is 6 times the base. So let's draw our triangle. Here's the base. It says the height is 6 times the base. Okay. The area is 96 square feet. Find its base and its height. So area equals base times height divided by 2. I know area is 96 square feet, so I'm going to put that instead of area. Base is b. Height is 6b divided by 2. So from last time, we note that 6b times b is just 6b squared. And now, if we have divided by 2, to get rid of it, remember we multiply it by 2. 96 times 2 is 192. And then to get b all by itself, I divide by 6. So b squared equals 32. And then I'm going to take the square root. So b is about 5.7 feet. And then the height is 6 times that. So the height equals 6 times 5.7. And that's 34.2. Okay. All right, last example is example 6. The logo for an engineering company is on a poster at a job fair. The logo consists of 2 triangles that have the same dimensions as shown. What is the perimeter and area of each triangle? So, first off, to find the area, I'm going to do base times height. So triangle 1, I'm going to put a little triangle sub 1. We've got base, and then we've got height, and then we've got area equals base times height divided by 2. The base on triangle 1, I'm going to color it yellow. The base is 20. The height on triangle 1 is perpendicular to the base. It's 25. Area equals 20 times 25 divided by 2. Area equals 250. And it's inches squared. Triangle 2. Do the same thing. Base, height, and then area equals base times height divided by 2. Triangle 2, I am going to color yellow. I'm sorry, that's not yellow. Orange. Okay? So triangle 2 is orange. Triangle 1 is yellow. Okay? So the base is 25. The height is 25. So area equals 25 times 25 divided by 2. And that's 312.5. And we're talking inches squared because we're talking about area. It also asked us to find the perimeter. So what that means is I'm going to have to find the C on each of these triangles. So 20 squared plus 25 squared equals C squared. Actually, you know what? Let's just not do perimeter. I'm not in the mood for it. And it's not really that necessary. But you could do it if you wanted to find the perimeter. You would just have to find C on each of those triangles. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.